We forgot to mention to everyone that if you had a fan to bring it, but it's fine now. We've already done it. It is what it is. But yes, hello, and welcome to a very special edition of The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm Logan Murphy. Say something gay. I am just drinking. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. It's become a thing. It is a monster bigger than itself. I'm just drinking some water because I've had a long day and I don't need any more caffeine. So, but if I was drinking anything, it could potentially be out of a cup mug. And you can get your cup mug and all of our other merch down below, lanagcreations.etsy.com. Link in the description below. So,
And Logan, what publication are you with, and how many times have you been to DragCon?
I hate you so much. I'm with The Cup. Shocker, I know. And I've been to DragCon twice.
Nice.
Thank
well,
you.
I'm David Healy, and I don't have a cute intro, but I do have a cute shirt. I decided to wear one of my brand new shirts I bought at DragCon. I'm wearing my La Grande Dame shirt.
Ooh. Bonjour.
And I'm going to couple that with my La Grande Dame fan.
There we go. But I am just drinking some water today, as usual. Also, I am with The Cup, believe it or not.
What?
And this is my very first time attending DragCon. And it was as press. So pretty cool.
Yes. And we're so excited to have 3 of our fellow fabulous press members from this year's DragCon joining us. So, Joey, start with you and then go down and around. Let us know who you are and what you do and all those lovely things.
Oh my gosh, love it. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be nominated. Hi, my name is Joey.
That's all you're going to get. Okay.
Joe Medina, call me Joey, pronouns he, him, his. I'm a reality, horror, TV, and movies writer at Collider. This was my first time going to DragCon too, and it was as press, live. And I'm drinking a water bottle I stole from a work conference.
Nice.
Love it.
Hello, I am Michael Block. I am a senior writer for Collider, and I also have a podcast called Block Talk. This was actually my 7th time going to DragCon, my 6th time as press. I went 3 times in New York, once in UK. Now this was my 3rd time in LA, and it's a lot of fun, and I have a lot of stories from all 6 times. But yeah, I always drink water. I'm on a podcast. I have to be professional.
That part.
Well, I'm Rachel Shatto with Pride.com. I'm the editor-in-chief of Pride.com. I also have some horror podcasts, but I don't think that's the vibe, so we'll just stick with my Pride credit.
Always a vibe for me.
Always.
David and I had like a true like bonding moment when we started talking about horror films together.
I love it.
This was my 2nd time attending DragCon. The first time I went years ago as a fan. Was my first year doing it with press, and it was an amazing experience, which I'm sure we'll get into tonight, in part because I met all of you lovely people. Like, we had so much fun behind the scenes together. I'm excited for next year when we do it again.
Yes.
I am, unlike all you healthy people, I am having basically a chemical burn in
from the spiral perm, Trixie Mattel.
Yes, exactly. Sparkling blue Raz Astro vibe. So I should be, like on fire in the next few minutes.
Hey, I thought Celsius were healthy. Is that just marketing? No.
Do I look healthy to you?
Celsius were good for you.
I mean, it does have a lot of text on it, and especially in the ingredients, so I'm guessing no.
I've been misled. Okay, great.
That's hard. But we're so excited to have everyone here today. Obviously, we're going to talk about our DragCon experiences. I do absolutely agree with you, Rachel. I think DragCon was obviously an incredible time. I had a great time there. But I think the thing that I come away with the most is honestly the people that I met, especially like all of you all, everyone else that we met doing press. So first and foremost, biggest shout out to World of Wonder for allowing us and allowing all of us to cover the event in such a wonderful way. But yeah, I think the takeaway I have the most from this, looking at the overall experience, and I want to hear from all of you what your takeaways kind of are and any highlight moments for you. But I think the takeaway for me is just like the people that I met, the personal interactions that I got to have, both with queens, with fans, with other press members, like leaning on each other, learning kind of a lot of us learning how to do this kind of thing. Because I think we were all doing press for the first time with the exception of Michael. So we all kind of walked in and we were like, what is it that we're doing? Who, where, what, why, and how? And
Yeah,
I think
There's a
that
journalist in the room,
camaraderie
you
was really
guys.
To be fair,
is really
to be
Yeah.
fair, each year is different. Like the rules and regulations are different every year. Like the first time I did LA, you had free reign to talk to whoever you wanted, wherever you wanted. And as the years have gone by, and some people don't follow the rules or arrive as not press but do interviews at the booths, it makes the people who are actually trying to do press have a good time, because we're now told we have to follow the regulations and the rules, but the people who don't even have a press pass still get to do whatever they want for their coverage.
Say their names.
Other than
Say
that,
their names.
Say their name.
I'll send the links to everybody. It's still a great experience because yes, when we're up in the press room, it's a lot of camaraderie. It's a lot of fun. We all know that, you see this queen, everyone wants to interview that queen. Not everyone's going to get that chance, but then you might get the chance that someone else doesn't get. So it's a nice spread the wealth. And for me, like I am always trying to bring on people who I have not interviewed in the past. So like there were people who have been like, no, I will step back on this person. I've had them on 2 other times from DragCon. Not really sure what questions I can ask at this moment. Let me focus on the new people. And there were a lot of new people this time around, which is always great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think since Logan and I got approved for press, like it was a week before DragCon when we got approved. So we were not very prepared going in. Luckily, like immediately when we went in the press room, we connected with the pride.com people. So Rachel and Ricky, who's not here, you all were like mentors.
And DJ.
Yes, and DJ.
And
of course.
DJ.
Don't forget the biggest shout out in the world to DJ for letting me use his power pack for basically the whole weekend.
Yeah, you almost left with that power pack.
I did not. I made sure that I was going to give it back to him.
I think we were all a little nervous. You were cutting it close. But yeah, we didn't get to connect with the Collider guys until the next day. But it was great meeting you all as well. And I think I finally met my match for somebody who's watched as much Drag Race as Logan and I have, with Michael, who's literally watched everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'll say fortunately, yeah.
I'll say for me, it's because this is my first time doing in-person coverage for anything. I only started writing about a year ago at this point. And so again, huge shout out to Michael who brought me along, got to do my little assistant thing. It was so cute and get some actual coverage done. And yeah, I'll say I think it's such a cliche to say, but talking to the queens in this way, you realize that they really are just people, which I feel like is said in every podcast, everything. But I think it's hard to really understand that unless you've actually done it. Where like, oh, like they stutter, they trip up. What's it called? Some of them are having a bad day, and they're gonna make sure you know it. What's it called?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think one of the best parts, funny enough, was not. Again, I love meeting the queens. I got so many selfies, so many great chats with all of them. But I think meeting y'all, because I got to not only network but like learn a lot from you all and like see how things are run and learn how exhausting but thrilling so much of this is. So I think I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Exhausting is the right word after 2 days in press at DragCon. I'm thankful it's not 3 days anymore, honestly.
Listen, I will always advocate for the 3-day because I got the most interviews doing those because they do have a little more freedom to talk with press because they're not trying to get through every single person in those 2 days.
I believe that.
So I enjoy the 3 days because I'm also the marathon person where I'm going to be there at the beginning. I'll be there till the very end, and I will chat with anyone who wants to chat.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how quickly the days fly by as well. Like, I feel like you sat down and 2 minutes later, it was like time to pack up and go because every single minute there's something happening. The first day that we were there, I can't tell you how many times I stood up to go downstairs or to send DJ downstairs to get coverage of the actual con. And then a new batch of queens would come in and suddenly I was in another round of interviews. And it was incredibly exciting, but of course very exhausting. And it like really put in perspective exactly what these queens are doing. Like if that was tough for us, imagine the hundreds of people that they spoke to. I will say, pro tip, definitely take a break, definitely eat. I made the mistake the first day of doing neither of those things. And by the end of the day, I was like, shake.
I didn't eat at all while I was there.
I was going to say, David didn't eat at all. I knew I needed to because I know myself really well. And I was like, I'm going to have to, I had to schedule in a break to eat. And it was one of those difficult things. But at one point I was like, it's fine. I don't really I do care who walks in if I'm in here, but I don't care if whoever walks in. And we'll talk about it later. But the one person I wish I spoke to walked in when I was on a break, and I was so annoyed because spoiler, she is my favorite queen of all time on Drag Race. So I was a little annoyed about it, but it's. I agree with you completely, Rachel. And this even goes for people that are going to DragCon, scheduling time to take a break, because I know for me, I'm not the world's most extroverted person, and I definitely need moments to kind of recenter myself and I'm really not. No. I'm remarkably...
Lies, Manila!
Baby, I'm an actor. I can turn it on when I need to, but I'm remarkably ambiverted in that I need my introvert time just to be with myself and to center myself. Yeah. And making sure I had time on both of those days for that was really, really beneficial, because I took 30 minutes. I made sure I was eating, whether it was all at once or, over the course of a couple of hours, which did happen. I made sure that I was taking that little bit of time to separate myself and kind of make sure, oh no, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure I'm listening to my body. And that's the number one thing that I would suggest as well, is make sure you eat and make sure you listen to your body. I know standing in line for that one queen that you want to see is going to be really important, but if you collapse while you're doing so, that's not going to be, the best scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I told Joey before we started, I was bring snacks. It's going to be necessary. We bought snacks. Mm-hmm. There were some snacks at the beginning of each day at the press room, and then they disappeared 10 seconds in.
Real fast.
Literally, you had to snag the Diet Coke. You had to snag
I was over a raccoon in the trash first thing in the morning. On day two,
No, to be vulnerable and brave, the way I stole 5 bars. The way
it was you.
We're good.
I was over there feeling guilty about taking chips and a bar, and you're over there just dumping shit into your bag, into your handbag, and running.
I did not want to buy $30 chicken tenders at the cafeteria.
They were only 18. I did buy them.
And fries, waffle fries.
And waffle fries. And they were really good, actually. But no,
What did you think of them, David? What did you think of the wings and the waffle fries?
I wouldn't know.
You sent Logan into he was kicked out.
Oh yeah, it just smelled strong. Is all I knew. Is oh, this is spicy. Whatever it is.
Okay.
Spanish.
David is one of the pickiest eaters I know. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I did cook for David once and caused his allergies to flare up and his eyes to start watering based on what I was cooking.
So spicy it burned my eyes from 30 feet away.
I was sauteing jalapenos in the other room.
I'm like, why can't I keep
Exactly.
my eyes open?
David,
Literally.
so David like smells sriracha and goes into shock. Like that's what I'm
Pretty
hearing.
much.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
stereotype of a white person food palette, that's me.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
would walk into the sea.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I have a question for everybody.
Okay.
Getting back on track.
Right. Circling back.
I'll answer so I can give you all time to think about it. But I want to know, out of all the people you interviewed, you can name a couple, but who were some of the highlight interviews for you for the week? And I'll go ahead and start. So I didn't do many upfront interviews. It was mostly Logan doing the interviews, but there were a few that I had to jump in there for. But the first one was Manila Luzon, which I could not believe. I was talking to like one of my top 5 favorite queens ever. And it was just such a surreal experience. I was stumbling all over my words. I was a wreck. This is the worst interview I've ever done, but it was still like pretty amazing just being with her and getting to like experience her professionalism. Like when I was stumbling with my words, she just jumped in and gave an answer. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Aw.
Also, I would say Hannah Conda was so much fun. She was so playful with me too. Like she kept grabbing me and saying, "Take me, David. Take me, David."
It's so good. It's so good.
I feel like I had a different DragCon experience than y'all did.
Oh, really?
It's just like all these
I mean, I loved her, but nobody was grabbing me saying, "Take me, take
Look,
me."
Rachel, you said it when you said gay male privilege.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's true, honestly, it is true. But yeah, the other one that was kind of surreal is Crystal Method. Talking to her, just because I've known her for 12 years now, so it was kind of cool, like being fans. I remember being at a bar watching a Drag Race finale, and we were rooting for other people, like opposite people, and she came and rubbed it in my face when my person lost in the finale. And here, like all these years later, I'm interviewing her as somebody else who also lost at a finale. But yeah, it was just really surreal talking to her and having that shared experience. So anybody else highlights?
I'll say for me, I had a very different experience because I was doing the filming for Michael, what's it called? But I got to take a selfie with every queen, and a lot of them are very talkative. I loved it. So I had to have a little chat with them. I'll say standouts for me, Fierce Delicious was wild. Didn't know, like, Fierce Delicious was wild. What's it called? Love.
Shenanigans.
Honestly, I was the one who sent out to me as like, I mean, okay, highlights. Envy Prue called me sexy. Love that. Like, will always remember that for the rest of my days.
I mean, look at the material.
Thank you. It's she worked hard. I think the one that really like sent out to me the entire weekend, Melinda Verga was unreasonably nice.
A sweetheart.
Like she was so sweet. We had like again, I was supposed to take one subject with her. We had like a 2-minute conversation. Like I was again, so many of them were so sweet, so nice, was so happy, but she was so like genuine and just heartfelt and like the small moment I had with her, and I loved it.
Yeah, she's great. She's the best.
Mhm.
I always love it when you can feel the queens are not over it yet. Like they're just as
Exactly.
excited to be there and be connecting with you as you are
Yeah.
with them. And I would imagine it's exhausting. Like I don't blame people for sort of losing some of the shine of this, but especially these queens that are there for the first time, like you're having that kind of mutual feedback of everybody's just really having an incredible time, and Melinda was a perfect example of that. Like she was eating up every second, and that's so fun to be a part of.
Yeah, they're excited that you're excited, which I think
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for me, my personal highlight was Lena Galore because I may or may not have like a little massive crush on her. Such
I have a
sweetheart.
massive crush on her,
Um,
and she knows that, and we're I wouldn't say friends, but I would like to say friends. And I do agree.
So that was a lot of fun to get to finally chat with her because the amount of times I've thirsted over her and tapped her and things, and she's always hard at it. I was like, now you can put the face to the name. But for me, I think one of my favorite interviews that I got to do, I had individually interviewed them last year, though one of them was in a group. But I spoke to Evil Queen last year, and I spoke to Queen Kong. but I got to do them together this year, where we were able to riff off of Global All Stars, and it was a better conversation because you get to see them interact and get to see the dynamic that we're about to see on the show. So for me, I love when I have group interviews that are decently contained and easily able to have a good audio for, because sometimes that doesn't happen. But they were really, really amazing. And for me, like this is my 6th time doing interviews at DragCon, and to chat with people I have spoken to before. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun getting to see people who are going to be shining very soon and get to talk about those experiences. So I mean, I'm very excited for Global All Stars and getting to talk to them about it. I'm stoked.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've done a lot of Zoom interviews, especially with the international queens, as you guys know. So I've had like these interactions with them, and some of them multiple, like in particular, I think it was the most recent season of UK. I talked to those queens in the lead up. I talked to them like throughout the season. And then the finalists I talked to multiple times. So when Michael Maruli walked in the room and I got to see her face to face, like we had this moment of like, it's you. And that was a really fun, special moment. I would say that was a big one for me. And that conversation was really fun because we didn't just like talk on the level of like DragCon, Drag Race. Like we talked about kind of like how we went through that experience together, and it was like a little bit more of a personal moment, which was great. And something similar with Hannah Conda. Like she's amazing. We had so much fun during her season talking, and there was this moment that I waited till after the show had aired to publish where she accidentally spoiled the end of the season in our interview. And it was a 3-way. You can go onto Pride.com's Instagram and see it, but it was a 3-way between me, her, and Tia. And she started talking to me about the final lip sync, and I thought she was talking about the previous lip sync. And when they made that realization, she like jumped up and ran around the room and came back.
Oh, I love that.
So we talked about that little moment. So that was a lot of fun. And then I really had a lot of fun talking with Nicole Paige Brooks. I love the early season queens. Like they were actually the queens I was most excited to talk to because they give 0 fucks. Like they have that old school drag mentality. They keep it real. They'll say whatever. They know exactly what they're doing. And I don't know that they get they don't get the respect they deserve a lot of times. Like talking to Madame LaQueer, talking to Phoenix, talking to Nicole Paige Brooks, like felt like such a treat because they are the the original girls that made me fall in love with this show. And then of course Nicole Paige Brooks and they're spilling the tea about Willem. So we appreciate you, Queen.
We do. Yes. There are so many people I could name. I'm going to echo everyone that you all already said because they were a lot of people that I would have already mentioned. But no, like Madame LaQueer was one that I actually had on my list because she was an absolute sweetheart. I loved her. Melinda was also someone that I absolutely loved. I think looking at everyone, I really loved talking to Isis Avis Loren from Drag Race Down Under. She knew who we were because she had seen our podcast. And that was one of the other really fun things of this weekend. And I'm going to say the most validating thing that has happened since we've started this podcast for me personally is that so many of the queens were like, oh my God, I know exactly who you are. And like, we're not the world's biggest podcast. We're not the world's biggest media site, period. But to have Drag Race queens that you admire and you watched and you critiqued in a lot of ways, to have them be like, no, I know who you are. I absolutely love you. And I watched your entire coverage of your podcast was incredible. We didn't get to meet Marina Summers at DragCon, but then to find out that David met her and she had watched our coverage of UK versus the World, I died a little bit inside. It was so good. I would say Jeannie from Drag Race Thailand really stood out to me as well. Jeannie is an absolute sweetheart. Cynthia Kiss and Juicebox from Canada's Drag Race. I interviewed them together, and I'm such a big fan of their podcast. And like, I was bringing up references from their podcast and they were like, oh, you're really a fan. I was like, yeah, of course I am. And I would say the other person that really, really stood out to me was the Girlfriend Experience. I just
No human should
she
be that
has
It's
no
not fair.
person should be that beautiful, but
It's not
she
fair.
just
Save a little for the rest
It-
of us, girlfriend.
Right.
please, girlfriend. Like, she was just an absolute consummate professional, so sweet. We tried to get her on the first day of DragCon. We ended up getting her on the second day. But I saw her on the first day and I was like, I would love to interview you. We have other things that we need to do right now because we've got things scheduled, but I want to talk to you. And she was like, oh, I love it. Like, asked who I was with, made sure that this next day we came back, she went immediately to me when she walked into the media room. And I was like, hey, I'll take it. But her energy was just so gorgeous and lovely. And I would say on her season as well, Luna Dubois was a great person to interact with as well. Luna was just an absolute sweetheart. So that's just a smattering of all of the lovely people that I.
And I know I know you named a lot, Logan, but I do want to mention on your behalf. I feel like you had a really good connection with Lawrence Chaney.
So maybe that was an answer to a later question that you had, David Healy. So maybe that's why I didn't bring up Lawrence Chaney right now.
Fair.
Mom and Dad are fighting.
There will be more about Lawrence Chaney later on.
Good.
So.
Cut it.
Cut it. I want to bring up some of our favorite looks from DragCon. We have a smattering of our favorite ones, but obviously we can talk about whoever we want to. But these are pulled from their booths, from their Queen's Walk, all those gorgeous, lovely things, and just running through. I gotta start with Pandora Knox. I mean,
she looks so good.
Amazing. I took a picture with her at her booth, and I asked her, I was like, I don't know how to pose with you. Like, in like the nicest way possible.
I
was like, I can't hold you. Like, I can't hug you or anything. Like, I stood there awkwardly because, like, it's like, it was beautiful, and it was, like, wide.
Yeah.
I was sitting, thankfully, when I did my interview with her, and then we took photos and we were still sitting, and I was like, okay, good. I know how to actually pose with this, but I know the feeling. We would be remiss if we did not talk about Envy Peru.
Are those gems?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! I thought it was a design.
The whole thing is rhinestone. The headpiece is rhinestoned. Everything is rhinestone feathered. She's just
oh my god.
Look,
a professional.
I think she is fully auditioning for her place on All Winners too.
Rue was sitting right up above watching. Oh. Did you see her up?
I did.
It was very like mother is, like perform for mother. Like it was amazing. And the international queens, I have to say, brought it. I loved all of my domestic girlies, and there were many great looks, but the international queens were not messing around. They brought their most like extravaganza drag, and good for them. Good for them.
On that note, I want to talk about my favorite look of DragCon, and I'm thrilled that I got to interview her in this look, and that is Jeannie.
Yeah.
Because Jeannie, last year, dressing up as a DragCon booth, this year, dressing up as the pink carpet.
Mm-hmm. Trend alert.
Brilliant.
And she had four guys walking around with her. I didn't know I didn't recognize her at first, but she had four guys just walking around with her, making sure that her dress wasn't dragging everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, who is this diva? And then once I realized, I'm like, okay, I see you, girl.
I didn't recognize her either.
Mm-hmm.
And she always does. And she put Jeannie back on Drag Race, please.
Please.
I'm begging. Please.
Global All-Stars. It's a thing
please.
Now. It's a thing.
Well, they don't have Thailand represented on this season. Hopefully global too. Let's hope.
Moment of silence for Thailand.
And that's on that.
Moment of silence for Thailand, Holland, and España. Speaking of a franchise that is represented, it's RuPaul. Oh wait, it's Bombay.
Okay.
Oh my god, love, and also his energy is incredible. Like
so great,
so much fun in the press room. So much fun. Like
I think
she did.
Bombay is often it's often forgotten that Bombay is like her looks on her season Like what she like, I feel like people don't talk about that enough.
No,
Like
they
I
don't.
think she's one of the best look queens of Canada, if not franchise. And
The
like,
holy look, the inflatable look, her
Oh.
entrance look is even like iconic for just being so simple. Like I also have a really I have a really good reverence now with Bombay because my roommate is from India,
Mhm.
and I asked her to do a like quick video for him specifically, and she did, and he freaked the fuck out in the best way, and
Aw.
I loved it. It does actually segue to the other person who I asked for an interview for my or a video for my roommate, and she did as well, which is Utica.
Oh my god.
oh my god.
Because Bombay and Utica are his two favorite queens of all time. So, and then there's a cameo from the first gay contestant of all time, Joey J, in the background of this photo, but who also
Joey
is an
J
absolute
wearing
sweetheart.
wigs.
I was gonna say
Yes!
love the wig.
My Arizona
Evolution.
girl, my Arizona girl. I love her. I see her perform basically monthly at this point. But I love.
Utica's second day look was, I mean, I think I liked it even better. She brings it.
And just a reminder, she makes all her own stuff.
She
It
makes
was like a
everything.
silver.
She made it.
We interviewed her in the look. It'll be in our when we put out our video of it. But it was this like whole silver big headpiece with like a cage
Mhm.
piece,
Mhm.
and she had no voice. By the time we interviewed her midday
None.
too, she had no voice.
Well, did you see what she was wearing in the press room on day one? That it was not this
Yes.
look. Do you know that
Yeah.
she made that in the booth out of things in her booth?
Oh,
Was that the
Yes.
carpet? Was that the carpet look?
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, I missed that
Yes.
one.
She fashioned that outfit in her own booth from the objects in her booth. Unconventional
love her.
materials queen.
So good.
Bring her back, please.
Oh,
Bring
she's-
her
you know
back.
she's coming back. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
We also have
Ugh.
to talk about
Ugh.
Stop.
drag
Stop.
with a cameo from Lawrence Cheney.
Seeing
But
them
just
next to each other is so funny.
Mhm.
I know. This was this during the
Winners.
winners walk part? Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say, I'm not going to name names, even though I've been making everybody else name names. But there were like a handful of queens that like really were dressed for comfort, and we were kind of all like in our little group at the end of the red carpet or pink carpet, kind of being like, come on.
Was
come on.
was
And
one
then
of those
out
someone
walks-
that you
Drag
out
set,
walks
drag
Eplis.
set this with that, and we were like, "Oh, it's over. It is over. This
Because
is how it is
she's
done,
in those boots too.
ladies."
Yeah,
She's wearing
she's in
those
the big
boots on
black
there.
Yes. Which terrify me. Like, oh,
I've worn them once and I was terrified and I had to like hold on to a railing the whole time. I did it, but I had to hold on to a railing the whole time.
Hard
It
pass.
sounds like
I'll
me in
pass.
flats.
never.
Sounds like me and flats, honestly. Speaking of queens dressed for comfort,
Oh.
Mayhem Miller.
I added this one. Please. When I tell you she is serving the N and CUNT, like
Truly.
I love her for this. I stand her for
Love-
for this. Like other people would look at that experience and be like, I never want to think about it again. Shove it
Mhm.
under the rug. And she's like,
Right.
oh no, ma'am, no, ma'am. I'm gonna wear it down the pink carpet and remind everybody.
This
of
is
that
what I'm
moment
known for now.
because I am fearless and I live for her for this.
Mhm.
It's
She's
the sneakers for me.
I screamed when I saw it. I was like, yes. I mean,
And she had the little things at her booth too when
yeah.
you take a picture. So she just
She had the
whole
bowls.
talent show. Yes.
good for
I'll
her.
say, like,
Good for
the
like
look-
take it back, reclaim it. Shameless. I live for her. for this.
Absolutely.
And like maybe I'm just trash. I don't think the look is that bad. Like the
Oh, it's not a bad
sneakers,
look.
the sneakers are what get me. The sneakers are what get me. But I think the look is kind of cute.
That's my other main tip for DragCon: sensible footwear. At least one of the days, sensible footwear.
Oh yeah, it was
If
amazing.
you're gonna wear
hearing-
heels, do it. But
we got to hear a lot of queens complain about their
Yeah.
shoes.
I'm not in pain. Not at all.
not at all. No.
Can I do
Oh,
this interview sitting
thought-
down, please?
Literally, all the
That's
girls
the-
were like,
that-
"Can I sit down for this?"
And that's the tip I always tell the queens is your booth has to have seating for you. You just have to put a chair or something in it. You need to be able sit. Because if you think it's going to be cooler to stand in for 2 days, you're wrong. You're very wrong.
Yeah.
And some of them really had some comfortable seating this year.
Mm-hmm. Plastic.
Yeah. Plastic.
I thought y'all were talking
Nymphia's
about
whole setup was so good. Like some of the girls knew what they were there to do and knew what to expect. And then one other look we wanted to highlight because it was incredible and wonderful was of course Q. And I mean
this was by far one of my favorite looks, but I think what really made the look is how well it fit with the design of her booth. Like she basically made this whole look her whole like.
Well, it wasn't her booth. It was the singer booth that she was sponsored to be at.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was the singer, the
sewing machine.
The sewing machine company.
Oh,
David,
in the same way that Heidi was at the Elf booth the whole time because Elf sponsored her to be there.
David, not to read.
Did you hear what happened at the singer seminar with Q?
No.
Oh,
Apparently,
Bring
the
Back
sewing
the
machine broke twice.
Oh.
Ooh.
The singer
Well, their sewing machine is out there just cackling.
Right.
But hey, they're all used to it. They don't have perfect sewing machines while they're on Drag Race. Some of those are busted on purpose.
Uh-oh.
Excuse me?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, hold on. We need a foil hat to drop down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
land on our heads. Say more.
I've heard
No, Honey Davenport confirmed that when she was on my podcast once. We were talking about a design challenge, and she's like, "Yeah, some of those are meant not to work."
See, we have the
Rigor
real and the tea
mortis.
on this podcast, don't we?
We do give the real and the tea, truly and
Everything
always.
is alleged information.
I feel like
Everything
you need to
is
have a
alleged
little
information.
teacup to pick up in moments like
Allegedly.
I have a cup mug available at laundrycreations.etsy.com. Ding. Shameless plug. I had to take the shameless plug opportunity, Rachel. You gave it to me. I want to talk because we got to talk to a lot of fun, wonderful people. Who is the person that you didn't get to talk to at DragCon this year that you wanted to? Because for me, I have two immediately that come to mind. One of them I alluded to earlier, and that she's my favorite queen of all time. I saw her walk into press. I didn't get the opportunity to talk to Mo Hart, and God, I wish I had, because she is my absolute favorite of all time. Like I love her. And I think the other person, honestly, was Envy Peru. I didn't get the chance to talk to Envy, and I really would have loved to. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a few that I was really hoping to connect with. In fact, I brought a couple of shirts with me. I specifically brought 2 shirts of 2 of my favorite queens, hoping that I could wear them or like get them signed or whatever. And those were Marina Summers and Matraka. I didn't see Matraka at all the entire time, and I was so
She
sad.
was like not at her booth ever.
Yeah, every time we went by
her booth like 5 or 6 times, and she was never there.
Mm-hmm.
Christiane was there, just not Matraka.
Mm-hmm. And Marina, I saw her a few times, but I didn't get to talk to her. I did get to talk to her the week later because she was in Dallas, and I flew there to see her show, and she was great. The other person, I talked to her handler, and I'm like, hey, is Shea Coulee doing any press? I know it's a long shot, but please send her up. She's my favorite drag queen of all time. Unfortunately, she didn't end up coming for press, but I still saw her briefly. So
could you imagine the chaos that would have ensued in the press center if Shea Coulee walked in? We would have all been fist fighting by the end of it.
Oh, no, we would have all pretended to be cool, but been shanking each other under the table.
Just like, move, Rachel.
You would have been shaking.
Ah, there you go. Joey, what about you?
I'll say for me, just because I've talked to them before, if y'all have seen Slay on Tubi, I just love it so much. I did coverage on that with Crystal and Heidi online. So I would love to talk to them about like in person, like say, hey, love your movie, love you in person. But who was there? Kind of saying, if Priyanka were there, I would have started crying. Love Priyanka, she's my all-time favorite. But I really wanted to talk to Dawn but she never went to the press room. I love Dawn. Like, I've written articles, like
Love
multiple
Dawn.
articles about her. She's like exactly my style. She's exactly my vibe. I love how like cute, like she's so mean, but like in such a cute way, and I love that. Like that's how I want to be. But like there was never a moment. Like me and Michael went by her booth a few times. There was never a moment she didn't have a long line. Was that she never went up to the press room? Like, yeah, she's the one. Like, who was there? I wish I could have talked to.
I was disappointed that I couldn't find any of the Brazilian queens every single freaking time I went to their booths. They just did not stay put at all. Because I've been slugging my way through Portuguese on Duolingo. I was ready to throw out a word or two.
Same.
But yeah, so the Brazilian queens were never there. Organza was never there. Drag Queen, I think I saw her once when they were all together, like doing this little photo shoot, and that was about it. So because I really wanted to try to be able to hit all the franchises as best I could. So Brazil was, I think, the only real one that ended up not happening. But yeah, so I think the Brazilian queens I was disappointed not to chat with. But yeah, I think I got some good interviews. I'm happy with how it went.
Same.
Yeah, I really can't complain. I got to talk to almost everybody I wanted to talk to. Either I did or my counterpart Ricky did. Like in terms of for the publication, I felt like we did a really good job of covering who we wanted to speak to. There were two queens that I really wanted to interview that I didn't get to, but I at least got to like talk with Theresa May. I went down to her booth to try to like corral her, and so I hung out with her for a little bit, and we caught up and kikied for a minute. And then Tia Coffee. I didn't get Tia Coffee.
Yeah.
We did like a little wave, a little come up, and she was like, "I'll try," and then it didn't end up happening.
Her line her line never was short.
It was the very, very end, and it was like a tactical error on my part because I didn't realize the press room closed a little bit early on the second day. So I was like, "Yeah, we have till 6, Mama, come up!" And then I walk up, and they're like, "All right, it's time to pack up," and I was like,
"Yeah, I heard she showed up at 5:30."
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
You can't do both of us, David. I will say actually, David. As an addendum to that, we really, really wanted to interview the girls from Drag Race Philippines, and none of them ended up making it up to the booth. I got to have a really lovely moment with Ovi at her booth because I went and bought merch for a friend of mine who wanted it. And I walked over and I was like, "Oh, I'm with the Cup. We covered your season on our podcast." And it took her a second, and then she was like, "Bitch!" And it was the best reaction. So I was like, I love that we got to have that moment. I had a moment with Bernie as well, and Bernie's been very, very supportive of our podcast as well. So I got to have a little moment with Bernie. I would have loved to interview both of them, but such is the DragCon experience.
Oh yeah, I'll throw an addendum too. The season 2 cast for Drag Race Mexico. I was up in the press room. 11 of the 13 queens came up to the press room, and it was torture for me because they were only doing press with Spanish speaking outlets, and so I was just like there with like puppy dog eyes, like I really want to talk to you all, and I can't.
We ran into Garcon on the floor though, and we got to talk to her a little bit, which was really, really nice. But yeah, we both really like a priority on day 2 for David and I was the entire cast of Drag Race Mexico because we're loving the season right now. So it was one of those unfortunate things. But overall, y'all, favorite moment from DragCon this year? And I actually have to think about it, so I don't know. I don't know what mine is.
I can go. And Logan kind of talked about this, but we're a small podcast. We have 1,500 subscribers, but our bread and butter is
growing
and growing
and growing.
Yeah, we're almost at 1,600. But our bread and butter is the international franchises. So it was just very surreal, like going up to some of the queens and I didn't even have to say who I was. They would just instantly recognize me. Cat was like, "I know you. Where do I know you from?" So I had to explain. And the most surreal moment was going up to Petita, who was my favorite queen on season 3 of Drag Race España. And immediately she's like, "I know you too. Oh my gosh." And she acted more excited to see us than we were to see her. It was just so cool. Even like we were recognized by a few fans too, which was pretty cool.
The first time that both of us had really had that, like in the wild, if you will. So it was a really wild kind of experience for sure.
Very cool. I think I had a couple really fun moments on the floor. Like I said, it was really hard to get out of the press room because it was so busy up there, which is great.
Yeah.
But one of the very first things that happened when we got there was really fun. We were like waiting for the pink carpet to start. So Ricky and I like wandered off to go talk to people. He's friends with Lawrence Chaney. So we like went into her booth and we were like, let's just get like a little moment with her. So we're standing there talking to her and in walks RuPaul herself. So you may have seen the video of RuPaul and Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's Ricky and I took that footage.
Yeah.
So, so they're having this moment and I'm just standing there in awe. Mama Ru is literally 3 feet away from me and I get physically shoved out of the way by a giant dress and it's Jimbo. Jimbo's dress physically moved me out of the way so that she could get to Lawrence and Mama Ru, and then like when she was like jumping up and down and having a moment. And so being up front to that, like I was thinking about like, I don't know if you guys play video games, but like the games that have like emergent events and play, you know, where things you're like walking around the world and it'll like trigger, like that's what DragCon kind of feels like, but it's all of your favorite celebrities just suddenly popping up and interacting and doing weird things together. So that was an incredible moment. And then another moment again on the floor that was really fun and special. I was just like wandering around, like I said, like this is when I went over to like Teresa and I was just like, come up, whatever. I was going down the like Canada alley and I saw Sissy Superstar, who I love, and who like we had spoken before. So we like kind of had a little moment. We were sitting there kikiing. And I don't know if this is forbidden, but I also am a Dragula super fan.
We love Dragula here on the channel.
Good.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there just like talking to Sissy. She's saying all kinds of little shady things and that I probably shouldn't repeat on here. But we're like having a moment and then very, very this. And then up walks Louisiana Purchase. And so the three of us yes!
I didn't even know she was there.
She was there. So we like I know, I died. So
I
like
love
the three of us had like a
her.
little kiki moment.
I saw Louisiana out of drag at Hamburger Mary's at the Camp Waikiki takeover. And she was also, there was a allegedly someone who's going to be a Dragula next season there as well, who's a good friend of mine.
Slide into the chat. I don't think I can wait till the end.
Yeah. Very excited, but that person was definitely in drag walking around the con. If you know, it was on the show. Louisiana. I'm not the biggest fan of Louisiana Purchase. I kind of destroyed them when I was recapping the season, but that's okay. She was there.
Rachel and I are over here just like.
I mean, I'm a vintage girly, so her
I'm getting on Michael's side a little bit here.
Rachel, I am standing with you. It's me and you against the rest of the panel.
Strong. All right, Joey, pick a side. You want to be on the right or the wrong side of history, Mr. Medina?
I hired you, Joey.
I like Louisiana Purchase. Do I think she made top 3?
All right, political.
That's okay. Thank you, Logan's with me. Okay.
Hey, I love Louisiana dearly. She didn't have the best run on Dragula. That's an objective fact, but I love Louisiana nonetheless.
Yeah, but I mean, I love pork chops. I love, whatever. I just love. I love her personality and her aesthetic and
the pork chop we got to the finale. That's very love it.
That part.
Sorry, I love you, Michael. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel.
Thank you. I think for me, one of my favorite moments of DragCon was having Envy Peru acknowledge that she had read my article about ranking the best international winners, and she was number 1. Her team was like, "We know that article. Here's a card. If you ever want to do it again." I was like, "Absolutely." So it was really cool to talk to her because I had spoken to her 2 years ago. Literally when she shared a booth with Vanessa Van Cartier, and I got to speak to them both, and I was literally shaking because no one can be that beautiful. So it was really cool getting to chat with her and having a little more of an intimate moment this time around. But I think the best moment is time does heal all wounds. And when you have beef with someone prior to Drag Race, you can get coerced into talking to them and having a fantastic chat. So if anyone who knows the history between me and Magami wants to listen to Block Talk when I release the episode. It was cordial. She does throw a little dig at me, and I accept it.
Fair.
Good.
Fair enough.
Literally, she's like, yeah, some people didn't believe in me, but I believed in myself. Like, I know you're talking about me, but that's okay.
Ooh,
We love it.
spicy Megami.
Are we surprised by that? No. Nobody is surprised that Megami is spicy. One of the moments that I had thought about as well was the Petita moment. Also, David, that was one of mine. I think for me, you already alluded to it a little bit earlier, David, but I think my favorite moment was talking to Lawrence Chaney, because I have loved Lawrence for years. I followed Lawrence before she was on Drag Race, so I knew who she was just for like a little bit of time. But I see so much of myself and my own personal journey in what Lawrence represents and has talked about on the show and since the show, and getting the opportunity to talk to her and really like express that, and just to get such a genuine warmth and appreciation out of it back from her was a really, really just cool moment. And then I think having just having a lot of the queens recognize us as well. One of my favorites was finally getting to meet and talk to Lena Galore, because I love Lena as well. And she watched our podcast. She knew who we were. We had talked to her prior, and we were like, we need to talk to you. And ran into her 4 or 5 times on the floor before we actually got to interview her. Smoke break, literally. But it was so wonderful just to interact with her. And I would say our first interview that we've ever done for the podcast as well. I have to shout out to LaPhil. He was an angel. I'm mad. I'm angry. But I absolutely loved Phil. He was just so sweet. I bought way more merch than I originally had intended from Phil, but I do not regret a single thing, because I needed a new tote bag because mine broke on my way back
matching
from Los Angeles. And we have, I have the matching shirt and tote bag from Phil. So, yeah, those are, I would say, a smattering of my favorite moments. But to close out a little bit. Oh shit! Sorry.
Wow.
I'm so sorry, Joey. I'm so sorry. Okay, yes, Joey.
Oh my God.
Joey. No,
Yes.
I can't do this. No, not this. Okay, Joey. What were your favorite moments?
So let's see. I mean, I could name what's coming to me is because again, I can name countless amazing interviews we had. I'm thinking about like Juice Box. Me and her had like a kiki over both being named Joey. What's it called? Utica was so sweet. I can name so much, but like what really is coming to me is there was one moment I think on day 2 where Michael, you were talking to someone, like we had separated, and I went to like the little bar they had and just like hung out, got like a little house little cocktail, and was just sitting there. And like I've told y'all, this is my first time doing coverage in person. This is my first time going to DragCon, and like I was like looking around and it just kind of all hit me. And like I was able to think about like, oh, I've talked to some of my favorite queens ever so casually in the past few hours. Like I got to like speak to like so many great like press people, like, all that, and like that moment really sticks out to me because that kind of just like was a moment where like I realized, oh, I'm doing this, and yeah, like that. I think that really defined the weekend for me, and it was really great.
I love that. That's amazing.
Of course. No, but that wasn't very entertaining. So Logan, I get why you wanted.
We almost missed that moment, Logan.
I know. I'm sorry, but no, and on that note, I'm actually going to resonate really, really well with that because I had a very similar moment the first day because I'd been doing interviews. It was like late on the first day, and I went down to the floor, and it was honestly when I went to go get food, and I kind of was just like walking through the floor, and I was just like, I'm at DragCon doing press for something that I had a measly thought about 3 years ago and actually put it into fruition. And like just the full circle moment of it all was really, really like heartwarming. And I talked about it earlier, but it really did affirm to me, like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now in my life, amongst all the other things that I do. This is the thing that I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm supposed to be here talking about my favorite show, talking to some of my favorite queens of all time. Like, when that realization kicked in, I was like,
Yeah,
this is really fucking cool.
it's true.
Like, just being able to have that opportunity is so just so cool. I loved it.
We work really hard, but what we get to do is actually kind of a privilege, you know? Like, we are very fortunate to get to do it. I had a similar realization on the second day when I finally did get downstairs and wandered around and, like, got to see all the merch and everything. I was experienced, like, a little bit of FOMO the first day. Like, I was like, what am I missing? What am I missing down there? And then I went down there and I realized that what I was getting was actually like the peak DragCon experience. I did see the merch. I did see some of the things downstairs. Next year, I'll try to catch some more of the panels. But I got to have like really special interactions with these artists that I super admire and have like a personal moment with them in a way that not only the people in that room got to do. Only us, you know, and a couple of other lucky people got to have the experience that we had upstairs. And that is incredibly privileged. And I'm incredibly grateful for it. And it's why we do what we do and we're passionate about what we do. It's easy to get caught up in the work part of it, but really what we do is kind of a dream.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And like it's a lot of work here for us. Like we have 4 YouTube channels. Like it's not just Drag Race that we cover. Like we do a lot of work, and even within just Drag Race, we cover every franchise of Drag Race for the exact reason that, you know, why going to DragCon and getting recognized by these international queens, like that was so, I said it before, but that was just so like affirming to me that like, no, I took a gamble a couple of years ago and really didn't know what to expect doing this. And it has been one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. And like truly plus now we know what to do differently next year, which I think is also the other plus. It's like, it was a great experience, had a lovely time. I know exactly what I'm going to do differently going into next year. So bring a battery pack. That's what I'm going to do next year.
I mean, DJ will be there. It'll be fine.
Great. Love it. Big fan. Okay, so now that I interrupted Joey, now I'm going to wrap up with one of our favorite questions that we asked the queens at DragCon this year. We're going to do one answer because we all agreed before we started that we're only doing one answer.
No problem.
Do it.
But our favorite question to ask was, who was your miscongeniality of DragCon LA 2024?
Okay, this is a very easy answer for me. So there was a queen, I went to her booth and she was incredibly sweet. So sweet that I bought my second shirt for her. I already had one. But we kept trying to get an interview with her and it took forever. But at the very end of the last day, I'm like, Logan, where are you with this queen? Why is it taking you forever to come up with this queen? So I went down and I immediately realized why it was taking so long. Logan was with Fontana from Drag Race Soiree. And Fontana, every single person she passed, she was like, how are you? How are you enjoying this? How's your day? Like security people that just work there. She was just incredibly sweet to every single person. Even when we'd finish our interview in the press room, she made sure to talk to all the people that were working the press room, the people with WOW, and just make sure that they were having a good day too. I'm like, you are the sweetest person. So yeah, hands down, Fontana was my miscongeniality.
I hate you because that was my answer. So now I'm getting a different answer.
I told you we probably had the same one, and you're like, we probably don't.
We did.
There was, again, I'm privileged to say there were so many. Again, I'm not gonna cop out. Like, but there were so many nice queens. But I think I'm gonna have to give it to her once again, Melinda Verga. Like, again, I can't reiterate enough just how seen she made me feel in like that moment. Like, it was just, I think I wouldn't remember so many of them, but I think especially that one, just like, wow, like we're besties right now, and like that was just so amazing to hear.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with someone who I've now spoken to 3 times at 3 different DragCons. She is super sweet. Even the very first time I got to chat with her in UK, I think the sweetest person on the planet is Precious Paul Nicole. She was so kind. We got to chat for a long time. And now we have a little bit of a tradition. So as everybody probably knows, back in the day before she was on Drag Race, Art Simone would always do the splat on the pink carpet. In New York, I was doing it alongside her, so it became something I was doing at DragCon as well. When I did DragCon UK coverage last year, I had my assistant. I was like, take a photo and do it, and then Precious joined us. So it's now become a tradition that Precious joins the family photo every year of us splatting on the pink carpet. But Precious is absolutely one of the sweetest people I've ever met, and adore her so much.
I love it. This is tough because so many of the queens were so lovely, and it's like I as you guys are talking, I'm going back and forth, and I was hoping one of you would name one of them so I could be off the hook. But Logan and David had to go ahead and agree with each other. So I'm gonna stick to my own rules, and I'm gonna go. I think Hannah Conda was my.
Right.
It was between her and Michael Maruli, but I think Hannah she kind of just slightly edged her out because she gave me so many hugs. And she just is such a light, she was the interview that was the easiest because I think I asked one question and we talked for 10 minutes and she just interviewed herself and it was great. But just such a warm, lovely, beautiful human being. And I feel really lucky that I got to share that moment on the floor with her or in the press room with her.
Right.
Okay, that's a really nice note. Should we leave on a shady one and say who our most chaotic queen was?
I think so. I have another answer because I didn't want to give the same answer as David.
Okay.
But there, like you said, Rachel, there are so many that I think and so many that we've already brought up. So I wanted to bring up someone that I hadn't talked about yet, but someone who was an absolute sweetheart. Rose dramatically in my overall rankings of favorite drag queens of all time, just from this DragCon experience alone, because I got to interact with her a few times. I got to interview her. She recognized me when I went back to her booth day 2 to get some merch. I'm going to say John Burr's Blonde.
Oh, yeah.
John Burr's was an absolute sweetheart. I think I had a 10-minute conversation with her at her booth. And she was so sweet, so completely genuine, and exactly what you would expect John Burr's Blonde to be. So I think I'm going to say John Burr's. And on that note, most chaotic, because I do actually like that question.
Yes.
I think I have to go with Nicole Paige Brooks from Atlanta, Georgia. I think that was my most chaotic, honestly.
It was one of my favorite interviews because it was so chaotic. Was Miss Fabulicious. Miss Fabulicious was insane. The second I mentioned the traitors, she went off on Kevin Martin and addressed the camera, ranting and raving. And I was like, you know what? I don't care, because what happened at UK is the second day she didn't want to do she wasn't feeling because she was sharing a booth with Vivian and I was interviewing Vivian and Fierce was literally awkwardly sitting next to her or whatever. And then in the middle of you could see she's like, wait, this is actually a good interview. I should have done it. So I was like, that's one of my goals is to get to interview Fierce Alicia this time. Wow, I didn't expect it to go that way. But hey, is anyone surprised that she's crazy in all the best ways? She's the reality star. She's the best.
She is.
Well, it's funny because I was also going to say Miss Fierce Delicious. Yeah, I got to talk to her a little bit before Logan did the interview, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I've met somebody you've played The Traitors with. I met Kevin Martin back in 2018, and he made me feel like the most special person in the world when I met him." And she's like, "That's what he does. He finds the gay people and makes them feel special." And I'm like, "It's so true." Like, we've watched Big Brother Canada. That's his MO. But I still like Kevin. But yeah,
I wonder if he's currently doing it on Amazing Race Canada, even though he's partnered up with Gerline.
Maybe.
I would like to third. Personally.
Okay.
Only because again, and like, yeah, like even again, I remind y'all, I get like small selfies with these, like they range from like 10
Yeah.
seconds to 1 minute. In the 30 seconds I talked to her, I experienced a roller coaster of emotions. And I think she did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that one. I was the one time talking to a queen, I was left shook.
Yeah.
I mean, she started my interview by taking a hit of a vape. I was like, great. It's going to be a great time. Great time. Let's do it.
Great times.
I love it. Well, I'm gonna go with Logan Logan. You said Nicole Page Brooks.
Nicole Page Brooks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I conducted an interview. It was not the one that she did, and not like we were both on parallel tracks doing an interview at the same time,
yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
like actually interacting. But I love her, and
Yeah.
like she knows what she's doing, and she's like, "Your question is boring. I'm gonna answer my own question. It's gonna be
Right.
better," and it was.
Right.
I mean, like I can't be mad at it
Yeah.
because I got great answers. They weren't my questions, but they were great
No.
answers.
I know the feeling. And since 3 people said the same person, and Rachel and I said the same person as well, I'm gonna throw a third person into the mix just to have a
Okay.
third person, because
Okay.
maybe arguably equally as chaotic, because she was very, very allegedly drunk on House of Love cocktails by the time we talked to her at the end of day 1.
I know what you're gonna say because that was my alternate.
I love Art Simone dearly, but the woman was
Chaos
she had
demon in the
to-
press room.
Chaos
In the best
demon.
way. In the best way. In the best way.
I asked her 2 questions total, and half of our interview is her just talking about et cetera, which
It's
I'm
the
not mad
longest-
at because I
It's the
love
longest interview too.
our longest interview
so I had
far.
Art and Maxie together. I don't know if I
Mhm.
spoke or they just spoke to each other. Then I was like, great, that's fine with me. This is more fun.
Thankfully, I did them separately, and I did them on different days. So, like, well, and Art knew me really well because I worked Minnie Cooper's booth last year at DragCon, so she already knew who I was. So she was just like, fuck it. And I think it's literally what she said.
You and I definitely crossed paths last year because I did interview the Super Duper Minnie Cooper at her booth. last year.
Probably.
Okay.
I was the less attractive gay working her booth. And I can say that objectively because the other man working her booth is literally a model. So like
She's
I'm not
amazing.
this
I
is
love
not me being degrading to myself, it's just objectively speaking. But I love ending on the chaos question, Rachel. That was really, really good. But
Why end on a nice question?
No,
nice question. When you
no,
get
that's
on the
too
chaos.
nice. That's not us. Chaos.
That feels very fitting for this podcast too.
Although I feel like the real thing we should end on is finding out where the viewers can best find your coverage from DragCon.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
You can find it on
The chaos continues. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah.
First.
you can find my coverage starting on collider.com. You can follow all my reality television shenanigans. If you like Delia's Catch, I'll write about it. Doesn't mean to watch it, but I'll write about it. So collider.com is going to have a lot of the coverage there. Otherwise, go to Block Talk for all of your coverage on all seasons of Drag Race. I have my interviews coming out there. And we are getting close to episode 1000 of Block Talk. So that's a thing that's going to happen. Don't know what I'm doing for it, but it's going to happen. So at Michael Block Talk on Instagram and other things. Yeah. Go there.
We're also nearing 1,000 episodes, and I find that terrifying because we've only been around for 2.5 years.
Oh my God, do you sleep?
No.
Well, there you
No.
go.
Yeah.
Well, you can find all of mine and my my colleague Ricky Cornish's DragCon content at pride.com. This week I am also my interview with Angeria, her winner's interview is going up this week. I also have I'm doing the exit interviews for Canada versus the world. So those are going up this week as well, I hope. So definitely come check those out. We're at Pride Site on all of the platforms, or if you want to follow me personally, I'm at Rachy Pants. You'll mostly see horror stuff, but some drag stuff and other interviews that I do because I cover a lot of entertainment news. So come check it out. Smash that
follow button or whatever the kids say.
All of them. and everyone's links will be down in the description of this video as well.
Oh, there's
so
mine
go...
right there. See, there it
Yeah,
is,
I was going to
Jill.
say, they've been
That's
scrolling
one right
on
there.
screen the whole time. Yep. And we have all of our, or Joey, did you have anything to add on the
it's
Collider
fine.
side?
Wow.
Okay.
Not again.
Second
Not
time.
again.
Joey, I'm
the
sorry.
Joey erasure. My goodness.
Joey, I'm
Do
sorry.
do we need to talk this out? Are y'all fighting?
Is
Is
this
this an
gonna
intervention?
Is this, yeah,
Press.
I'm
Well, I
sorry,
want to know where to
Joey.
follow you, Joey. Tell
Thank
me.
you.
Yes.
You can find a lot of the coverage I did, like as Michael said, on Blog Talk and Collider. I helped film a lot of that. I also did some coverage at Collider.com as well. Joe Medina, that's my thing on there. Again, I do a lot of drag race stuff, but also like any reality show, horror, movies, TV, all that. I have some great interviews with some drag queens coming up, so keep an eye on that. And if you want to see not only with Crystal and Heidi, but some other great queer artists, also just like general stuff I love. Again, I love horror as well. Also just everything gay live. Joey Medina 99 on Instagram. Yeah, you can find all my stuff there.
Okay, so what I'm figuring out is that Joey, Rachel, and we need to talk horror movies very soon.
Spin
Very
off.
bad.
Yes.
And I'll produce it because I am not a horror fan. So I'm like, I'm good. And we have all of our DragCon coverage coming out slowly but surely here over the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to drop our stuff with like 3 or 4 different parts right here on the Cut Pod YouTube channel, as well as audio podcasts as well. We'll be doing all of our stuff on our social media as well, at the Cut Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can follow me and David as well down below. For once, I put my Instagram link in a video. I don't typically do that, but for this one, now you can follow me on Instagram. It's mostly photos of food that I make. And that's honestly about it. But thank you all so much for joining. This was chaotically wonderful in the best possible way. And with the chaos, with the spoiling Canada versus the world results unintentionally, I'm really just coming for Joey today is really what's happening. But no, thank you all for taking the time to talk with us. And we'll all be back next year to do more DragCon coverage because I'm going to put it in the universe that we're all going to be there back together once again.
UK?
Fingers crossed. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Your lips to Rue's ears. Like
that part. And as we close out, another huge thank you to World of Wonder for giving us the opportunity to do press at DragCon this year. It was an experience I will literally never forget. So, because I have a lot of video evidence that I was there. So thank you. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share on the way out. Check out the description for everyone's links from all of our panel here today. All of the Collider links, the Pride.com links, all those will be down in the description, as well as all of our links, our audio podcasts, our other YouTube channels, our Patreon for exclusive content and early access, as well as our socials and where you can get your merch as well. And with all of that being said, we're going to get out of here because this has been chaos in the absolute best way. So cheers.
Cheers.
I don't have my.
Wow, left Joey out again. You left Joey out of the cheers. That's so messed up.
What's happening?
Just gonna end it now. Bye.
Bye.